And welcome back to this Saturday afternoon edition of the Grind Fantasy Football Podcast. Right ahead of week 4. The Governor Greg Davis here alongside Travis Big Chops Gonzalez. All right, Travis, that was a riveting first quarter. That was awesome. Definitely one of our better segments so far. But let's dive right into second down here. What do we got?
Yeah, we're looking at a week 4 player impacts. Injuries, returns, potential breakout weeks, just players to look
Mm-hmm,
at,
mm-hmm.
seeing how their
Okay.
their week 4 matchups, could potentially, make the rest of the season look. So just to start off with, we have Godwin coming back on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you think
Yeah.
this is? Go ahead.
I, I I think it's obviously big for the Buccaneers. They have a couple other things to note. Tristan Wirfs, their tackle, is coming back as well. He hasn't played a game yet this season, and of course Mike Evans is out, and Baker Mayfield dinged up with that biceps injury. So I think that it's positive, of course. For anybody who was able to stash Godwin, whether you had an IR or not, it's definitely a reminder to go check your waiver wire. Make sure he's not just kind of sitting out there if you're in a shallow league or league that doesn't have an IR slot. He's possibly got dropped or maybe forgotten about. As far as on the field impact, I'd take a wait and see approach. I might slot him into a flex position if you have to, or WR3 kind of thing, depending on how thin you are at your receiver position, but I wouldn't trust him as a wide receiver 2 out of the box. And I think it does impact Emeka Ibuka owners as well. It seems like Godwin and Ibuka have, similar style of play. They run similar areas of the field. And of course, the timing with Mayfield should be better with Ibuka right now. So him and Mayfield, or him and Godwin, excuse me, will have to, I think, work on that still. So it's positive. I wouldn't expect anything. Well, I wouldn't expect him to be startable until we see, how much usage he gets, whether he ease him back in, maybe give him, a couple plays off a drive here and there kind of thing. So wait and see, but definitely great news to have him back as well as Wirfs, and especially with Evans going down. I think it's going to benefit that Buccaneers team, and Wirfs'
Yeah.
impact on Bucky Irving and the run game there, I think, is also going to be very positive. I think they try and lean on the run a little bit more this week with Mayfield's injury. Of course, they're going up against the big bad Eagles, so it's should be a slobber knocker for sure.
Yeah.
And Baker's so tough; he's going to gut it out no matter what. So should be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, that's a game I'm definitely got my eye on, and yeah, you pretty much hit on all the the points that I was thinking about. So yeah, just make sure you got Godwin if he's available, but temper your expectations. But he is a quality player. Yeah, let's see how he does going forward. Up next, Janty on the Las Vegas Raiders has not been living up to expectations, but I don't think that's his own fault. But I think if he were to have a breakout game, this is going to be it. Up against a suspect Chicago defense. They definitely aren't as good as I think that Chicago fans expect them to be. Just a tradition of staunch defenses, but this is the chance for Gianti in my opinion. I believe you have a slightly opposing opinion. What do you think about Gianti against Chicago defense this week, Greg?
Oh man, yeah, Genty is obviously not had the success that I think a lot of folks are hoping he'd have, especially fantasy owners who might have selected him in the first or so round of their draft. And again, like you pointed out, I don't think it's Ashton Genty's fault. I think that the offensive line has not been kind to him. I think that I saw a stat, something ridiculous, like he averages negative yards before contact.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, not maybe not yards, but negative like .1, fraction of
Yeah.
yards or whatever. But that still means on average he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, which again is not the back's fault probably. I've watched many of the Raider games, mostly just the highlights so far, but yeah, that's rough. And I don't. He might have a little more success, but that line is crushing his value. And we'll see if Pete can kind of figure it out. We talked um, in our group about the offensive line changes, how they move Powers Jackson from where he was penciled in before the season to a new position, and maybe they're just taking that time to gel. But I don't see anything changing too much for Genty this week. I think that until something significant changes with that line, he's just going to be getting what he's been getting. I mean, think about he had 2 runs over 15 yards last week, and that was something like more than half his total yards. So when he gets loose, he can definitely shake loose, but
Yeah,
it's
he's
just
not
not
getting loose
happening
though.
for him yet. Not happening yet.
Well,
Seems like.
looks like Chicago has given up the seventh most rushing yards per game. Maybe this seems to be a situation of the movable object versus the stoppable force. I don't know. Let's see which one gives way this week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to revisit this next week. But
All
yeah, the
right.
Raiders look absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. We're looking at Trey Benson, who took over for James Conner, who broke his ankle and is out for the season. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
it seems, at least in the leagues that I'm in, Benson was already picked up as one of the top quality handcuffs. I believe Connor has a history of injuries. This isn't like just any old injury. This is a significant one. Um, but we've already gone through the game on Thursday, and so far I don't know if he's lived up to expectations. Do you have any future performance concerns from a Benson, Greg, on the Cardinals?
Yeah, role concerns for sure. Yeah, I think that if he was available, you probably doled out a lot of your fab or your waiver order to pick up Benson, but that's only if he was already not being handcuffed on somebody else's roster. Yeah, Thursday night's game against the Seahawks, not what you were hoping for, not what you wanted to see. What do you get? Something like 13 total touches, but he wasn't in there during the 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
Amari DiMercado was the back in that situation. He ended up leaking out for the touchdown
Mm-hmm.
late in the game. So, yeah, I don't think that the game script would be like that every week, but that role is certainly concerning if Benson is getting sort of that those lower value touches, kind of between the 20s, and not getting the great third down work or the late contest stuff. So I don't know. I think he's still fine. I think it will end up being a good pickup, but that was a concerning performance for sure.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so our fourth player has the most question marks surrounding him. That's Jackson Dart, the new starting quarterback for the New York
Oh yeah,
Giants.
yeah,
Any
yeah.
insight you have onto how Dart may, adapt to this new situation he's in?
I think it's more so telling from the coaching perspective. After 2 weeks ago, Russell Wilson had that monster game. Obviously, laid an egg last week, which led to this decision. But um, the coaching staff definitely pulling their this card early in the season. I'm kind of surprised at that. I mean, Jackson Dart can't do any worse than Russell Wilson, you would think, or maybe he can. I'm not really sure. I didn't have a
Anything's
um,
possible if you put your mind to it.
yeah, I didn't have a strong feeling going into the change here. Obviously, he offers some great athletic ability, and he does have that component where he can scramble, probably be used on some design runs, RPOs, that kind of thing. He's got a live arm for sure. So the ball comes out hot, and I think that if you're giving Malik Neighbors 10 to 15 targets a game, you're going to get some points anyways. So he'll be fine, but I don't really trust Dayball and what he's done in New York so far. So I don't think he'll be massively successful, but I think it'll be an upgrade over Russ.
Excellent. So, I mean, he does bring a running element, to his game. He's not just a passer. Do you think that's going to open up other, opportunities, for like Cam Scatabo, maybe not to the same degree, but on a parallel of, like Lamar Jackson and, Derrick Henry, where they can complement each other?
Sure, absolutely. I think it'll help. Russ Wilson obviously was just a statue, so defense could sit back and tee up on him. So that is going to throw a little bit of wrench into defensive game plans versus when Russ was in there, and I think it will definitely open up the ground game and will help Scotabo for sure. So yeah, I think it's an upgrade all around. I don't know how good he will be at passing the ball, at staying tall in the pocket, at not bailing out too early, like some quarterbacks are prone to do early on in their careers. So we'll see if he has the poise. I know he's got the physical tools, and we know he's got at least some decent firepower on offense there in New York. I'd have a hard time doing anything more than playing wait and see there. And hopefully you got him in like a dynasty league because wheels up next year for sure.
Excellent. Let's keep an eye on him. All right. Up next we have Brock Purdy coming back from his toe injury. How excited are you for this, Greg?
Yeah, I think that's I think Mac Jones played really well in his absence.
Agreed.
And I think that it's an upgrade for Ricky Pearsall. Obviously, Kittle isn't going to be back for a couple weeks, so that's kind of moot there. But if Purdy's feeling good, I think that it's just going to elevate the whole offense of system there. And McCaffrey might not get as many targets as he was getting with Mac Jones. I think Purdy will look to throw the ball a little further down the field. We don't know if Jennings is going to play. I think he's kind of a coin toss right now. If he does, I think that'll also help. That'll be good for Purdy. But if he's not there, I think that him and Pearsall will have a strong connection. And I like Pearsall a little bit more this week because of that.
Yeah, I might be a little more optimistic, but I think there's a better than just a coin flip chance that Juwan Jennings is going to play. I mean, they're definitely hurting at wide receiver position. He was a limited session on Friday. That seems to be the day that you can kind of judge whether a guy's going to play or not. And the fact that he wasn't playing and then he's now playing, I think the Niners are hurting on for some wide receiver production. So I don't think they really have much to lose by not starting him if he's physically okay.
Yeah. We'll see. Check your inactives for sure.
Yeah, check him. Just before the game. You never know. Jawan just might be playing. If you got him on your bench, maybe you could be better than who you got in your other slots. So keep an eye on that for sure. I'm definitely excited for that.
Niners are at home in that one, right? So that late window slot, you can see if you need that high upswing dart throw if your team's getting clobbered and you just need to hope for a prayer, a miracle, a Hail Mary kind of thing. Or if you can maybe squeak by with a little bit of a safer option. I always love that double last minute tinkering. It's the best. I always make the wrong decision, but it's
for sure
the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, we got sort of a double header. We're looking at Washington with Daniels and McLaurin both being out.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you got one of the hot uh, rookie running backs, Bill, but he's got a tough game ahead of him with the Atlanta defense. They're on the tougher side for run defense. So you think
And did they say he's for sure playing?
who's that? Bill?
Yeah.
I believe so. Let me double check. He's listed as questionable. He was able
Hmm.
to practice later in the week. According to Derek Brown of Fantasy Pros, he's expected to suit up this week. So I just assumed as much.
Expected to suit up. Okay. Cool. Yeah, you make a great point that Atlanta's run defense is tough. And I think the Commanders are definitely going to want to try to run the ball with Marcus Mariota back there. Of course, he played pretty admirably last week, but they are down Terry McLaurin. I think one of their Noah Brown, one of their other wide receivers, is also out. So they're really thin on receiving options, which might be a boost for someone like Zach Ertz potentially.
Hmm.
If that's you're hurting at the tight end position and maybe looking for a kind of a last minute flyer, I think that's somebody you can approach
Debo's
this
there
week
too.
confidently. Pardon?
You got Debo there too. Debo
Yeah,
Samuel.
yeah.
Don't
Debo
count him
should.
out. I think he's like wide receiver. What is he? Yeah, he's wide receiver 15 right now.
Yeah, and they use him, obviously in multiple role. Maybe they don't have him return kicks this week because they'll need him, a little fresher for the offensive side of things. But yeah, if Bill plays, I still expect him to kind of split with McNichols and
Rodriguez.
yeah, Rodriguez as well. I think he was active last week, so not expecting a lot. I think Bill would make for an interesting flex if if you didn't have a more solid option, but I don't think the Commanders are going to be in a position to score a bunch of points this week. I think it's going to be a really slow, drag out game. Michael Penix Jr. obviously got
Hmm.
benched last week. He's put up a couple duds in a row now after his good week one performance. So we'll see really where what Atlanta tries to do too. If does he get the early hook again, or if they let him kind of stay out there. So I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game. I think both offenses are going to rely a lot on the run game, both with Bijan and kind of the 2-3 backs that they're going to rotate in and out in Washington there.
Yeah, it should be basically a revolving door, on all roles in in this game. So yeah, I find it interesting that how diversified Washington is. It seems to be like at this point a lot of teams are starting to settle down on how they want to split the workload. But I mean, you got Washington here, and they got three legitimate backs, and then a receiver in Debo who can also function as a back. It's just kind of a weird situation. It's kind of entertaining to keep an eye on. So yeah, that definitely makes Washington kind of one of the more interesting teams for me to watch for sure.
Oh,
Um, yeah, we're going forward, looking at Najee Harris. He is on injured reserve. And
yeah.
O'Marion Hampton seems to be the guy that's just shouldering the whole workload. It's kind of what you hope for, with a handcuff. Maybe not the situation that Benson sort of took on. Where a lot of people expected him to kind of shoulder everything, but this looks to be a nice situation for O'Marion Hampton owners. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I think that this is exactly why you take those high upside rookies and maybe backups who we know are going to at least have some standalone value, but could overtake the backfield in case of an injury. We've seen that play out now with both Washington and Los Angeles. If you still have Blake Corum sitting out there on your waivers. Maybe take a little peeky weeky.
No, I definitely was.
So Marin Hampton, it's just it's wheels up for sure. Just play him. He's going to be the workhorse in that offense that we know likes to run the ball. So all the reasons you would have drafted him in the 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever round, you're able to get him in if you made that choice. All that stuff is kind of lining up. So let it rip, and let's hope he shows us a little more than he has so far.
Yeah.
You draft him high enough, you gotta probably start him based on your team construction, I would think. But if you have better options than that, then God bless you. Otherwise, I expect him to be starting in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all rosy for him going forward. I mean, he was against Denver last week. 19 attempts, 70 yards. He had a touchdown, but also 7 targets. 7 targets. I mean, you got to love a back, that's like a quasi Christian McCaffrey sort of situation where he's going to get lots of yards either way, and if you're in a PPR league, all the better if he's receiving. So yeah, he's definitely somebody to be excited about for sure. All right, and wrapping up this segment on Week 4 player impacts, we are looking at Isaiah Likely coming back at tight end. He wasn't playing for the start of the season. He's looking to make his season debut. I know he was big player early on in the season last year for Baltimore. So, any thoughts on Isaiah Likely's return, Greg?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge positive for this Ravens offense. Mark Andrews definitely stepped up, being the number 1 tight end so far this season. So I don't know how many opportunities there's going to be for Likely, but his raw athleticism is just light years away from what Mark Andrews can do at this point in his career. So I think they'll use him a little differently, and I expect that to be a boon for Lamar Jackson mostly. I don't know how much you can trust Likely as a starting tight end until we kind of see the distribution of the workload there. And I think that he's always going to be tough to trust just while Mark Andrews is still healthy and playing well. So I'm not going to rush out and get Likely, but I'm going to monitor the situation and see if he can be a useful piece later on. And it does, kind of mention, I do wonder what that does, have another capable pass catcher in that short to intermediate place in the field. What is that going to do for Zay Flowers, who's had just an awesome, rock solid start to his season, and Rashad Bateman as well. So I think it, a lot more questions than answers at this point, but I do think it benefits the Ravens offense, and we'll see how the distribution of touches shakes out. I think it takes away from Andrews, obviously, primarily, so that's trouble. But I don't think either is going to have standalone value unless the other one's hurt. And there's going to be spike weeks, obviously, but I think it'll be hard to trust on their own.
I mean, he's. Do you think that there's a chance that he sort of supplants Mark Andrews? Like, I mean, Andrews is 30, but I mean that's not to say that older tight ends can't produce. Kittle was 30 when he had his amazing season last year. But do you think? Do you foresee greater than not chance that I Likely takes over the role of tight end for Mark Andrews on the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, absolutely. I just not this season. I think that Andrews has shown too much both this year and last year after he got healthy. I mean, we all remember that first game of the season, not Likely toe on the line, right? How much the monster game that could have been, and then they kind of flip-flop getting hurt and everything. So, and coming into this offseason, I think we were all expecting Likely to take that next step, and he still may, but I don't anticipate it this early in the season with him coming back from the injury and with Andrews again playing at a decent level. So no, not immediately, but maybe come the money weeks near the postseason,
Mm. Maybe in like a
if he's able to
dynasty league or
differentiate.
something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you want him in Dynasty League, but I think that, if he offers some value going into the fantasy playoffs this year, if he's able to differentiate himself from Andrews' production, that'd be awesome, but I'm not counting on it yet.
All right. Excellent. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the second quarter of the Grind Podcast, episode 4. After covering week 4 player impacts, we're going to take a small 7-minute break, and we will see you back here for the second quarter.
and welcome back to this week 4 edition of the Grind Fantasy Football Podcast. The Governor Greg Davis here alongside Travis Big Chops Gonzalez behind the glass and in front of the mic. Welcome back. So 2 quarters in the books here, and we're heading off into the 3rd quarter and a little bit more of the betting side of the podcast. So Big Chops, what do you have on tap here for Travis's teasers?
All right, so we're just going to start off with a recap of last week. I had Houston, Green Bay, and Seattle spreads. Starting at Houston 1.5. You could have got it at 2.5, but it didn't really make a difference. Earlier in the week. But I had Houston plus 7.5. Green Bay teased down to minus 1.5, and Seattle teased down to minus 1.5. I had started off the season 6-0, but we had to come back to earth at some point. So I went 1-2 with a combination of these teasers. There being minus 120 to win 100. 6-point teasers each. 3 teams, combinations of 2. We had Houston cover the spread. They still lost, but they lost 10-17. But that hook right there, that extra half point is, like I've always said, live and die by the hook. So that's what our savior was right there. Green Bay lost in just heartbreaking fashion to Cleveland. That was just a complete collapse at the end, and I was laughing the whole time until I realized that I had my bet on Green Bay, and that it wasn't quite so funny. But still, they look to be in control of just a gross, low-scoring game.
It's terrible.
With a complete collapse at the end, and it ended up losing 10-13. So yeah, if you're taking a favorite and they lose, that's just outright not going to happen. Fortunately, we were able to salvage some of our week with a Seattle tease down to minus 1.5 against the Cardinals in a very fun game. Ended up winning it at the last second on a field goal. They covered 23-20, 3 points, so that minus 1.5 wins there. And then I decided on Monday to chase my losses. I ended up taking
and again, just PSA disclaimer that
I do not sanction
not
this.
Advisable.
No.
So if you're at home, cover your ears, women and children. Just resist the urge to do what Travis
chase your losses,
did.
folks. It's
bad habit.
Yeah, you get tilted and you start making double-sized bets or just other things that you weren't 100% or completely sure on, and it spirals out of control. It's an ugly situation, and nobody wants to see their family member chase their bets. So don't do that to your family, folks. But I did anyways. Took Kansas City minus 6.5.
Caution to the wind.
They ended up winning 22-9, so that saved a week. Just ended up paying the juice. Currently for the season, we are up 5.6 units, and from now I'm going to be also tracking the ROI, the return on investment. This is the total amount that you have bet. Each time we bet 1.2 units, so it's 1.2 times however many bets we've made. But the thing about ROI is, instead of just the sheer amount of units, is how profitable your bets are. So you do a ratio of that compared to how much you have collected, not just your winnings. So in each of these bets we win 1 unit, but it's also the amount that you collect, your initial bet. So each win, you collect 2.2 units, which is the winnings, 1 unit in addition to your original stake plus the juice at 1.2. So that pretty much every bet is going to be an additional 1.2 units. So so far we're sitting at a 47.06% ROI for the season, which is amazing. Be honest with you guys, I do not expect it to stay this high. But that doesn't mean that that has no bearing on the quality of the following picks.
Just
So,
ride the wave, baby. Just
hmm
ride the wave.
you never
Just
know.
keep
This
cooking.
this could be the year that we just
Just
retire
just
and
keep it rolling.
move to Hawaii. So. We're gonna that's a recap of last week. This week, just real quick, we have three teams that I'm looking to bet the spread on. These either have systems that I'm a fan of, games that have certain conditions that when you bet on a certain side have proven to be profitable year after year, or a situation where a large amount of money is going on one side. So they may have a certain amount of the number of tickets, but the actual amount bet on that side, the total quantity of dollars, is much higher than the other side. So to first off, my favorite bet of the week, and I would just even take this straight up if I were you, is the Jets plus 2.5 points against the Miami Dolphins. And this is surprising to me. I mean, I know the Jets aren't, exactly the top team in the league, but I mean, I think it's safe to say that the Dolphins are at the bottom of the league. Um, Yeah, so the Jets are 2.5 point underdogs away the dogs at Miami, but they're winless. It's early season winless teams. People tend to overvalue or undervalue the spread for teams just because they think, oh, they're winless, they're so bad, then there's no way they can possibly cover. Um, the Jets have had some sharp action on them. That's why it started off at 5.5 and has moved all the way down to 2.5. But that still makes it a good candidate for one of Travis's teasers. By teasing it from 2.5 to 8.5, we cross against those two key numbers, 3 and 7. So that's where we're getting our value from. So yeah, my first bet: New York Jets plus 2.5. Up next, we're looking at the Denver Broncos. They're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Now this is the one I am least confident in. Not to say that it's not a bad bet, but it's not something I would put money on just the straight up minus 7.5 because the Broncos at home are 7.5 point favorites, which is a good amount. I mean, the Bengals, without Burrow, I mean, yeah, I can see them being underdogs, but by this much, it's hard to say. But we, the beauty of the teaser is we get it shrunk down all the way to minus 1.5. So Denver only has to win by 2 or more points. And I think most people are pretty confident that Denver's going to win this game. So that's going to be my second pick. Denver minus 7.5 teased down to 1.5. And finally, we have for the third pick the Chicago Bears. And they're going up against the Raiders. So
Oh
this should be a
boy.
fun game. There's fantasy implications, players that you want to watch to see how they progress through the season. Currently, you can get the Bears at plus 1.5. Now, what's interesting is they started off as favorites at minus 1.5 when the first lines came out Sunday evening and Monday morning. But there is the system that the Bears follow right now: road dog, low total. They are on the road. They are the underdog, and it's a low total. Let me see what that is real quick. The total for that game is 47.5. So that's not the lowest total, but it's on the lower side. More conservative game. I think there's going to be a good amount of running. Um, but regardless, you can get Chicago plus 1.5. Tease them to 7.5. Crossover 3 and 7. It's going to be a close game, but 7 is plenty points for me. So that's Travis's teasers for the week. New York Jets teased to 8.5 points. Denver Broncos teased down to minus 1.5. And Chicago Bears teased up to plus 7.5 points.
All right,
And there
there
we go.
you have it, Travis. Thank you very much for another edition of Travis's Teasers. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back for the fourth quarter. All right, welcome back to the Grind Fantasy Football Podcast. This is Greg Davis alongside Travis Gonzalez.
Welcome
and
back.
We're here for our last segment today, fourth quarter. We are going to just run through our pick'ems briefly and kind of talk about that, and then that'll do it for us heading into the Sunday slate of games. So hopefully everybody started off their week 1-0 by picking Seattle over the Cardinals.
I definitely didn't.
You picked the Cards? You picked the Cards?
Yeah.
Oh man, I guess we got to start doing a show on Wednesday to help out with things like that.
Thursday games don't count. They suck.
It's true, they do suck. My personal rule when talking about fantasy football is the only player I really feel comfortable starting would be the home running back. And, of course, that strategy would have blown up in my face if I had Trey Benson anywhere because he was terrible. Yeah, it's definitely hard to trust anybody from the visiting team, in my opinion. And even the passing game options on the home team are suspect. But anyways, that's just one person's opinion. So, first game of the week, of course, is were they playing Ireland? Is it Dublin?
Ireland.
So the Ireland game between the Vikings and the Steelers. So we got old Carson Wentz starting. Is that what's going on? And Aaron Jones is still out. So JP Mason looked pretty good last week. Another one of those folks that you drafted with that handcuff status and hoped that maybe they could take over that top role. And Mason at least has that runway for a couple weeks before Aaron Jones comes back. So he has a few opportunities to cement himself. Now, some kind of quirky thing with the schedule there. Of course, they have the Ireland game this week, and I think they stay over in Europe for a game next week as well. The Vikings do. So not a good.
Really.
Not a great setup. You'd think that the second game they'll be a little more acclimated, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking Steelers Vikings, and I think the Steelers pull this one off. Travis, what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Good amount of money on them too. It's a close spread. But yeah, this one I'm definitely going Pittsburgh money line.
Yeah, good call. And just a reminder, set your teams early. Set your teams tonight. Of course, that's 6:30 kickoff on the West Coast, 9:30 on the East. So make sure your rosters are locked if you have anybody going from those two teams or are considering them. So next up, the game we touched on briefly, Commanders and the Falcons. Commanders missing a lot of weapons, really banged up over there. Falcons, of course, have their own issues. It looks like Falcons are favored at home. After seeing what Michael Penix Jr. did last week, I don't know if I can trust him.
Yeah. I mean, they both got
What do
question
you
marks
think?
on both sides. This one,
Yeah,
I'm just going to have to go with the money. There's a good amount of tickets, but they are large tickets. It's mostly going on the Commanders. So with such a close spread too, going to go with Washington Commanders on this one.
Wow. Okay. All right. Next game, Saints at Bills. Bills kind of sleptwalked through their last week's game also, which they sort of dominated. So I think the Saints will get similar treatment. Never know what could happen any given Sunday and all that. Kellen Moore should have his team kind of fired up to go play there at Highmark Stadium, but I think the Bills are...
Yeah, they're going to run away with this one.
Should be in a position to capitalize
15 and a half point spread.
Get the win.
I think open it.
15 and a half? Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd bet the spread, but in the pick'em, yeah, the Bills are the choice. Browns at Lions, I see kind of a similar situation. Browns, of course, do have a reputation, at least, of having a pretty decent defense, but I don't think they're any match for what the Lions are going to bring to the table.
Yeah, it should be an interesting fantasy matchup, though, just to see Gibbs and Monty kind of push their limits. But yeah,
Yeah, now that
definitely got to be the Lions.
now that Judkins is kind of taking over that Cleveland backfield. We'll see if he can produce anything for his owners against that pretty staunch Lions defense.
Yeah, should be fun.
Uh, Panthers at Patriots. Ugh. Looks like Ted McMillan is expected to play, so that should be helpful. But I feel like the Patriots at home are going to squeak by in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just not going to be close enough to kind of justify a chance that the Panthers pull off the upset. I think it's going to be Patriots.
Huh? Moving on to the Chargers and the Giants. I got the Chargers taking this one
Gotta be.
after the long. Even though they got that long flight to the East Coast, they play that early time slot, which always is a concern for any West Coast team. But the Giants just look bad right now, and even the upgraded quarterback Jackson Dart, I don't think is going to be enough to overcome that Chargers defense and the way Herbert's been slinging the ball. I'm definitely taking the Chargers in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And continuing that, the morning slate is pretty robust. Eagles at Buccaneers.
Ooh. It should be a fun game to watch.
It should.
It's got to be the Eagles. I mean, Buccaneers are good, but they're just not the same kind of complete team that Philadelphia is. Obviously they showed us that last year. Saquon hasn't produced the same rate that he has last year, but he's still doing amazing. They haven't even really had to pass the ball either. I don't think the Eagles have really been pushed to their limits yet, and I don't think the Buccaneers are the team to do that. So yeah, definitely Philadelphia.
Yeah, they finally had to kind of open up the passing game in the second half last week against the Rams after the Rams took that pretty sizable lead into the locker room at halftime and even coming out in the second half. So they did end up weaponizing A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith a little bit, which I think just illustrates that this is a team that can beat you in a lot of different ways. I think they got fortunate to come out of last week's game with a win, but they are just such a force offensively. They can beat you myriad ways. One of the most dynamic attacks in the league. So yeah, I think the Eagles are also the pick in that game. Another game that promises some grody-ness. The Titans at the Texans. Ugh. Titans have not been good, but the Texans are.
This is the battle of the 0-3 teams.
Good. Yeah. Houston is favored. Was that 7.5?
Yeah.
Division game. We always love the curveballs those can throw. I'm leaning Texans, but I don't feel great about it. What say you?
Yeah. Well, I think I can articulate exactly what you're feeling. It's Houston's not gonna win the game. Tennessee is gonna lose the game. So it's gonna be Houston.
It's going to be Houston. Maybe, I don't know, Cam Ward's got to win at some point in his career, right?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, we'll see.
And another game that could potentially have some fireworks. Colts at the Rams. This actually should be a pretty good battle. I'm thinking... Man, Rams lost a heartbreaker to the Eagles last week. They're going to be pissed off. Something. The Colts have looked good, though. Colts have looked good. I want to say the Rams, but I think I have to say the Colts.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. There's the ticket size is definitely larger on the Colts, a decent amount. Yeah, I think. They're 3-0 so far. I think they keep it going. Let's go Colts.
Okay. And Jaguars at 49ers. Man, Jaguars have not I don't think that they've looked like the team that lots of people thought they would look like, with Liam Cohen sort of leading the charge there. Have not been impressed with them yet. Niners, as we mentioned, are getting their QB1 back, so I think that they will eke out a victory against the visiting Jaguars.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. I'd love to be contrarian, and I'm trying to find reasons to be, but so far, I think these are spot on, all these picks. So yeah, I think we're aligned so far and everything. Let's go San Francisco.
Yeah, indeed. Well, they're favored marginally. All right, after that, another game that could be a
Ooh.
potential playoff preview.
Ooh.
Ravens at Chiefs.
This is gonna be.
Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, the Ravens, two tough losses to start the season so far against two really, really high quality teams. In the playoffs, the Chiefs have definitely had Lamar Jackson's number. But I think the Ravens are offensively kind of on a roll right now. I think that they're going to let Derrick Henry do his thing, and we mentioned likely is a potential upgrade to the offense there. So I think the Ravens overpower the Chiefs. I haven't seen enough from the Chiefs, especially in the passing game yet. I don't know if Worthy's presence really upgrades it as much as it needs to be. Obviously, Tyquan Thornton has really stepped up, and I expect his ascent to continue. Once Mahomes likes somebody like that, I think he'll do give him a lot of opportunities. And Kelsey looks not real good so far, first 3 games of the season.
Yeah,
So I
the
think
slow start last year though too.
I think it's just slow. Period. But anyways, I'm going Ravens in this one, even though it's at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Money's on the Ravens for sure. Tickets and handle size. So, yeah, I'm definitely going Ravens on this one. Good call.
Yeah. Bears at Raiders. Raiders. Raiders have not looked
Just
impressive on either side of the ball so far this year. Caleb Williams somehow. You say he's QB what?
3.
That doesn't.
Maybe not in our league,
What?
but in
Jeez.
PPR. I know it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
That doesn't make any sense. Well, he does have some good weapons through the air. I don't trust Swift personally. I think this is going to be another gross, fairly low-scoring game.
It's because he threw for 4 touchdowns last week, and then 2 before that, and then 1 before.
Okay, well, that's good for him. Yeah, Raiders. Man, I want to pick them. I want to like Genty and Bowers, but man, Geno Smith looks terrible. I'm going Bears. Not Bears.
Yeah, it's huge. Probably the biggest amount of money discrepancy is on the Bears money line that I can see. About a little over half the tickets, but 90% of the entire handle is on the Bears. That's just gargantuan. They started off. It's interesting. They started off as favorites, then the Bears moved to. I don't know how that happened. That's interesting. Maybe the spread moved that, and the money line follows the spread. But yeah, regardless, Chicago Bears, they're gonna win this one for sure.
Even if Genty has his quote unquote breakout game, I think the Bears are going to score more points. All right, next we're going to the Sunday night game, which I'm sure when the league was put together, the schedule had slightly different implications than it has now.
Yeah.
But Packers at Cowboys. Of course, Parsons returns to Big D. They're without CeeDee Lamb.
This is a big FU game.
I think the Packers, after losing the way they did last week, you got to figure going into that Browns game, they probably had an eye on the Sunday nighter in Dallas, and maybe
Yeah.
their focus was um, compromised a little bit, which is why they were able to lose in such stunning fashion. But I think this is a game that the Packers have had circled on their calendar since before the Parsons trade, but probably highlighted, bolded, and spotlighted after the trade. So I think Packers come into play, and I think they run Dallas out of their own building.
Yeah, they're basically going to take all their frustrations from last game out on the Packers, and it's gonna be ugly, folks. Yeah, definitely a Green Bay money line.
All right, and next, the first of two Monday night games, the old twin bill. We got Jets at Miami. Now, you touched on this already in your Travis's teaser, so if you just want to recap what you're feeling on this one.
Yeah, I think Jets are definitely not. It's another situation where you got two lesser teams, but Dolphins are pretty much the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion, for the league so far this year. The fact that I mean, I know there is some bias as far as being the home team. I'm sure there's like data to back that up too, but just to have anybody be an underdog against the Dolphins this year is just insulting. So I'm gonna take the New York Jets money line.
Yeah, Justin Fields is coming
He's
back this week
back.
from his concussion.
Yes, he is.
Yep, he's back. So I think that's a big boost to Gang Green, and I think that the Jets also um, beat the Dolphins. Now, let's say the Dolphins laid another stinker, and Jets either win convincingly or just win. Do you see the Dolphins quarterback, I'm sorry, coach situation changing soon? Do you think
Oh man,
Mike McDaniel has a little
I think
hot
people.
seat, or is the seat erupt if they lose to the Jets?
I think his seat's been hot for like last couple years. Feels like you
Do
know.
you think that this is the game that would require the Dolphins brass to make a change if they lose?
I mean, compared to who they have to play later in the year, I mean, you got a game against New Orleans. They're a contender for, the bottom of the barrel, but I mean, they haven't lost. I mean, they lost a good amount to Indy, but the game against New England was only 6 points difference. They played against Buffalo, yeah, they lost, but only by 10 points. Um,
And that their offense kind of woke up a little bit that game too. That was
yeah,
the Thursday nighter.
but I
I
mean, when that
think that
happens, is that a fault of the players or is that just the preparation? So I think, yeah, you might be right, Greg. This might be a turning point where if it loses, then there's definitely going to be, I think, maybe not headlines, but you'll see articles. But then again, it feels like I've seen those before. You never really know.
it's
Y-
pretty early in the season, so maybe it's a bit of a knee jerk reaction, but I could see it. If they lose to the Jets, at home, on Monday night, I could see it going off the rails pretty quick. But yeah, the pick is the Jets for me,
mhm.
and going into the final game on the slate, Cincinnati at Denver.
Yeah, Cincinnati have not gotten better. You know, it's how, a question of how much does losing Burrow affect this team. If they're that fragile, where just I mean they still have lots of talent. They've got good defensive players. Um, amazing weapons on offense. Chase Brown did great last year. He hasn't shown up. And then their receiver section was, I mean, even like T. Higgins was like a top end, wide receiver too. So it's just, it's, I think still a big question mark. If if they can make the proper adjustments, they have the talent on the team to be, still a very competitive team. But I just don't see them winning, starting that off against the Broncos. So I'm gonna choose Broncos money line.
Yeah, at Mile High, I think the Broncos are at this point probably the better team personnel wise. I think with Burrow out, I think they're fucked. Frankly, I
Yeah.
think the Bengals are toast. I haven't seen anything out of Chase Brown, and put all that on Jake Browning, even with the stud receivers that he has at his disposal. I don't think he's going to do jack diddly poo, personally. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah, I
But
definitely have the. Oh yeah, it is. People spend a lot of draft capital on a lot of those players, and for all that to be sabotaged with an injury, certainly is part of the game, but it does suck. And yeah, I think the Bengals are going to be terrible the rest of the year. But personally, just my own personal opinion.
right. Prove him wrong,
Oh,
Bengals.
yeah, a fat fucking chance. Jake Browning is. They're gonna be calling him Jake Clowning by the end of the season, dude. Just
Oh.
mark my words.
Oh.
All right, and that will wrap it
Prognosticating.
up here for us today,
Yeah.
for another edition of the Grind Fantasy Football Podcast. Travis Big Shops Gonzalez, producer, co-host behind the glass there. Thank you very much for doing what it is that you do. And what are you most looking forward to tomorrow during the slate of games, or on the menu, or anything you got planned? Anything out of the
Well,
ordinary? What's crack-a-lack-a-lackin' over there in
personally,
Hayward?
I'm most looking forward to playing against Richie because I play against Richie in two different leagues at the same week. My main league and my secondary league. So yeah, it's going to be interesting keeping track on both because it'll allow me to focus more on the games because that's 50% less shit talking that I have to do. I just have to do it to one person instead of two.
Oh yeah, and be prepared for that shit talking, because I'm sure it's going to be coming in hot and heavy, no matter what.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast, and we will check in with you next week. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
and enjoy the games. Go Niners. We'll see you next week.
Go Niners. Bang bang.